This video is not suitable for audiences under 13 years of age.
Kill. Double kill. Triple kill. Titan Slayer. Godlike.
Hello everyone, Mixfant Gaming here. Welcome to my channel. Today we're taking a look at some more remastered test server action. This week's test server, we're looking again at the low performance settings version. However, what's been different is this week they've actually introduced not just the low version, but they call it the ultra low definition of War Robots Remastered. So from that description, I'm assuming this is the one, the base level version people could install that had some of the graphical elements removed or stripped from the game. So once we go into the game here, I've already played a few games, so I'm just giving you my intro, but you'll notice things like there's no shadows anymore on the bots. Some of the visual effects for the weapons aren't quite as intense as they were previously. There's no dust, for instance, when one of the robots tends to run coming up from the ground. So those type of things, every single one that's added adds more computational and graphical intensity power that's needed from the game. So they've stripped some of these out. So we're going to see how it runs on 3 different devices. I'm going to be running an old LG V20. I'm going to be running a Galaxy S8. And then my final test is going to be on the OnePlus 7 Pro. Before I go into each game, I'll throw up a slide here of the specs for each of my devices that I'm going to be using, and you can draw your own conclusions. With that being said, let's quickly look at what they've added to the test server here. So if we go first into here, they've added the Pursuer. This is the paint jobs that's available for it. This is the Standard. This is the Quantum, and this is the Crow. Again, as I've said in the last few test servers, at least the colors in the hangars are all washed out when we're looking at the skins. But beyond that, it doesn't really matter at this point in time because we're looking at the performance. They've also added the Shredders, so we'll be looking at the lockdown effects for the weapons. We have the Bulgazari running Ivory Atomizers, and here is a couple of the paint jobs for it. We have the Frozen Leech. Again, like I said, the colors are all washed out really bright, too bright. They lose some of their dynamic color intensity differences between the shadows, the light and dark, because they put too much brightness on these on the hanger here. We also have modules that we can put on the Leech. Now, I ran my games, I didn't actually change the passive modules. If you look in the store, we can't actually add any of them anyways. So the only thing that they come with is nuclear reactors. But beyond the other robots, you'll see if I look at the modules here, the Frozen Leech comes with an active module, which is the repair unit. And again, we go in here, we can't change the unit, the module, so it just comes standard with the repair unit, but you'll be able to see that in some gameplay. We also have the Invader here. Here are the paint jobs. That is an ugly paint job. Like, these are Pixonic. If you ever happen to see this, please fix the hanger and the color intensity on these. That really should be a much more vibrant blue, and like it's just gray and a little tiny bit of blue, and that's not how it looks like on the live server. Again, this one is running an atomizer as well as the new futuristic Quarker that's currently in the event on the live server. And finally, again, we have the Frozen Leech. This time I just threw the Columbus in just to see how the rocket effects are. Now, one thing you have to note for this is if I, for instance, go into the store to change weapons, you'll see I can only choose basically atomizers and Columbus. There is really no additional weapons you can choose. So I can't put Punishers on these to see how the kinetic weapons and the smoke trails affect. Similarly, if I go in here and I look at the Quarkers, again, I can put Shredders, I can put Quarker, the regular Quarker, and the futuristic Quarker, and that's it. If I decide I want to change my robot, I can't even change my robot either. Sorry about that. Just give me a second here, turn that off. Yeah, so I can't go in the store. If you go in the store, you notice I can only get Frozen Leech, Invader, Bulgazari, and Pursuer. I can't change my bot. I can't use Aujuns. I can't use anything else. I can't use Spectres, for instance, that was in the previous test servers. So this version, the ultra low definition version, only has these robots. So keep that in mind. There really isn't a lot of variety to choose on this particular test server this week. So beyond that, let's just hop into a game here and see how it goes. And like I said, I'm going to put up a screenshot before each game, just to indicate the stats I have of my each individual device. And at the end, I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, everybody. So, my final thoughts. This test server went a lot better than previous remastered versions that I've tried. I'm not sure if it's because of the ultra low definition. I don't think I'll ever remember that. But the ultra low definition version with everything stripped out, so the shadows aren't there for the bots. Some of the graphical effects are toned down a little bit. The explosions and the rocket trails are still there. However, because they've stripped out a lot of the other bots, a lot of the other weapons, I wonder if really this is a true representation of how it will be on, if you don't have a flagship device. It did seem to run quite well on my LG V20, which is my oldest one that I use for some of the test servers. It ran perfectly fine on the Galaxy S8, and of course it ran fine on my OnePlus 7 Pro. However, once you get more explosions and smoke trails and bullet sprays, I wonder how effective it really will be for using it on an older device. And I'm sorry, my clan, they give me a hard time for talking about older devices, but really that's how I decide to cater my remastered test server footage and testing around older devices versus new devices, because those are the claims by Pixonic that the more optimized, stable, low definition versions will allow people to have a more stable experience on an older device than currently they exist now on the live server. So I want to test those claims. But given the lack of robots you can choose from, the lack of weapons you can choose from currently on this version, I'm not ready to say it will function perfectly fine on those who have the older device, just because of the lack of content in there. The lack of, for instance, the Avengers of Punisher spraying bullets constantly and all those smoke trails. That is a huge hit when you're talking about graphical resource intensive items that you're trying to render in on the screen. Explosions are another thing. If you have Spectre jumping in on you with 4 Orkans or 4 other kind of things like Columbus. I had a Leech with a Columbus setup, and in the 3 games, I don't think I ever came across another person running any kind of rockets. So again, I was the only one that was throwing rockets out there. Yes, the Atomizers and the Quarkers had steady streams that you had to render in, but they didn't have smoke trails. So take everything with a grain of salt. I am quite impressed. At least everything seemed to run well. I didn't get a lot of lag. I didn't get choppiness. I definitely didn't get the frame rate drops I have had in previous sessions. But like I said, just take everything with a grain of salt. Everything else seemed to work pretty fine. I was really happy with. The only thing I've been mentioning in the last few weeks is they have to fix those colors on the bots and the weapons. They don't look anything like they do on the live server. And to be honest, at least the way it is right now, the live server paint jobs and skins look a lot more vibrant and detailed than the ones on the remastered, and that shouldn't be the case. I know in previous versions of these remastered test servers, it's been the opposite. They've looked a lot better on the remastered, so I think they need to reduce the brightness and increase the contrast a little bit. But anyways, that is my test server session for this week. If you happen to like it, please give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing, and until next time, cause some mayhem in the field for me.